Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we have a brand new model from Orcatorch, the D530. We'll take a look at what comes included in the box, take a look at some of the light features, as well as usual jump into the water to check out on how the light performs in the diving environment, as well as the pros and cons at the end of the video. So I would say let's get the video started. As you can see, the box is actually very similar to the D520 box. And also for those who know the D520, this is actually the successor model. So this is also for me, I've been using it, and it's basically a D520 with a switch, to be honest, just for you as a starter. Now the box is very similar. We have a nice orange box. We have some of the key features in the front. In the back we have a small specs table. So here we can see that we have two modes. We have a high output with 1300 lumens, as well as a lower output with just about 400 lumens. We have a waterproof depth rating of 150 meters. So this is of course a very helpful, a very good thing to have. And I think this is enough about the box. It's a beautiful thing to look at, but if you have the light in your hands, why not take the light out? Now inside the box we have a few things. We have a nice plastic inlay, a plastic tray which supports the light and the batteries, and all the accessories are just in the back part. Now we're gonna start with my favorite thing, which they changed now since a while, is that they send a spare silicone rubber ring for your light. So if it uses one like this, there is a spare one inside, and I love this since I broke mine on the D620 and I don't have a spare because at that time there were no spare rings included. So definitely a nice thing. Then we have the spare O-rings. They always were included, they still included, a very important thing. And as you can see, there are 3 of them in here. And yes, the light uses 3 O-rings. We have a small wrist strap, lanyard. Definitely I can recommend you use it. For those who don't have any way of fixing the light and they still take a dive, or at the light for a dive, for me this is the most stupid thing you can do. Always fix your light, or else I'll always be happy on finding some new ones for me. And then of course we have a user manual. If this is a first light you are buying, definitely take a read through it. There's also an English version and a small warranty card. If you have any troubles, just write them. I've heard that they are quite we could say tolerable, and if there is a trouble with their lights they will always help you on fixing it. And then the last thing, and now you might be asking why the hell is there a micro USB cable with it, and this is a simple reason. The battery we have here, the 18650 included, is a micro USB rechargeable battery. We have a 3400 milliamp hours battery, so a very high capacity, one of the highest capacity. Just to give you a bit of a background, the highest capacity battery in the 18650 format out on the market at the moment is around 3600 milliamp hours. But for me, honestly, or my honest opinion about this is just very simple, that the 3600 milliamp hours battery costs around double of this kind of 3400 milliamp battery. And to be honest, for the 200 milliamp hours more, it's not at all worth to buy double. Yeah, this is my opinion. Everyone has its own opinion, but if you are between buying 2 of those or one of the 3.6, buy 2 of those, definitely. Alright, the USB charge is quite good to use, but also you can use it on a normal charger, as well as the light uses the positive and a negative pole, so you can still use it as a normal battery, but you have the advantage of also being able to charge it via USB. If you're using the USB charger, we also on the top, let me just check if I can show you. On the top here you can see the 2 holes, and on these 2 holes we have on each side a LED, a green and a red for the charging indications when using USB part. So it's also a very, very good thing to have. Now the light itself I'm going to take out of the actual plastic, and we can already see the light is a very small light. It stayed in about the same size as the D520. I'm always referring to the 520. If you're not sure what I mean, just check out on my channel the review for the D520, because this model is basically the successor of this. This is why I'm basing it on this. The big difference is basically that it has a switch, it has a bit of a higher output, and it has the nice branding of Orcatorch, which is very new now to use on most lights, and I like it because it's a lot more easily recognizable, and it's just a nice, we could call it a brand feature, which they now use, this kind of orange ring silicone or silicone rings around the lights. We have a nice battery case, again very small, very tiny. You can use a nice mount on this. Even the soft Goodman handle from Orcatorch works on this light. A bit to the front we have the new switch, which actually has a power indicator integrated. This is very nice, and we're gonna see this in a minute. We have the cooling fins on the sides, very typical also Orcatorch branding look. And then on the front we have a nice reflector. And now comes the really new thing. If you can recognize the LED, it's not an XML, it's not an XPL, nothing like this. This is an XHP35. It's actually quite an expensive LED compared to the XML. It costs around double, and it can output up to 1500 lumens. So this one here is a very nice LED and a very good one. I'm very happy that they are now using this kind of LED already on the small lights. Now before I talk too much about the LED, let me show you what I mean. And let's now open the light, and you can already see when I'm opening it, there come the 3 O-rings. Very beautiful to see. I like to see it a lot. We have a nice spacing between the thread and the O-rings, also good to not cut those open. On the other side we have a nice driver board, nothing we haven't seen before. One of the things I now like on the slide, it's a bit new, let me see if I can get it out a bit. We have this inner part, well there it is, we have this inner part where the actual battery sits inside with the negative pole. This one is completely anodized and isolated inside. It's also anodized, so there is no contact, no electrical contact which will connect the negative of the battery to the outer casing. So there is no electricity passing on this aluminium, which will in some cases prevent some kind of corrosion, which I had before already. So I'm very happy that they're using this. I wouldn't recommend taking it out, just leave it where it is. And here we have the contact, which will then press onto the driver. Placing the battery inside is usually the negative part first. The positive goes to our driver. We'll close the whole light, and well, once I find the thread, it actually closes quite smoothly. We have a very nice movement that feels very easy and very smooth. And once the light is closed, we are ready to go. Now let's check out how it works. We have a simple switch here, as I told you, and we press the switch once. We are on the high mode, 1300 lumens. We have a nice spot. It's maybe difficult to see, but the spot is about this big. I would say it's about a 7-degree angle, but it's a very nice angle. It's not of a soft widening. It's actually quite limited, so it's actually quite fun on some. We could call it on some darker dives. It's actually quite fun to have this spot. We have a nice spill also around, very good for night dives. I've used this light now 3 or 4 times, one night dive, one rec dive, a normal reef dive, and it's worked very well on all 3 of those, mainly on the night dive. I really enjoyed it because the spill is quite strong on this one, and I had to switch it down onto the lower mode. And there we are already, around 400 lumens, and if we press the switch again, we are off. And this is something I like on this light. Press it on, high, in this case high, low, and off, and we are off again. We don't have a strobe, a SOS, a party mode, whatever. I keep saying this now, but I really don't enjoy to have a lot of modes where you have to press through, because if I want to use a light, it's going to be either on this or on this mode, and I want to have it off again, and that's what this offers me. To the power indicator, we can see on this actual part here, let me see if I can get this focused for you. We can see that the actual power indicator will indicate us what is the charging status of our battery. In this case, well, it's quite low because it's already red. In this case it's yellowish. It's a bit hard to see the yellow, but if it's green or red it's easier to see. And this will just basically tell us how much battery, or in this case how much capacity, energy is still in the battery, so we can maybe use this in our way. So if we see, oh, I still have an hour of dive, or still have 40 minutes of dive, and it's already starting to get red, maybe it's time, well, to use it on the lower mode, just to be sure to have light for a bit longer. There's one more thing, which is basically there is a lock function for the switch, so you don't turn it on by accident. If you keep the switch pressed for 3 seconds, it will give us a signal, and this signal means that the light is now protected against switching it on or just bumping the switch in somehow. You can't even turn it on if the switch stays pressed. To unlock it again, you need to press the switch twice in an order. You will see that the signal comes on, and now it's back operable. If you don't want to play around with the switch, it's actually sometimes a bit of a difficult thing, or not sure, is it now locked, is it not locked? Just do as I usually do, open the light a fifth of a turn, just take a look at what I'm doing now. It's closed, this much, that's it. Like this, the light won't come on anymore, and you're 100% sure that even if it's locked, unlocked, whatever, the light won't come on and you're on the safe side. Now I think I talked enough about the light itself. Let's see how the D530 performs in the actual diving environment. Okay, so I hope you could get a better understanding on how the D530 will perform for you in the actual diving environment. It has a very narrow spot, so this is for sure. I would just would like to say this again, just be sure to open the light a little bit when you're going traveling, when you're going for a longer drive or ride to the actual dive site, just to be sure it doesn't get turned on. If you are traveling on a flight or something really longer, definitely isolate the battery with a little bit of an isolation tape, place it in the actual light, and you're safe to go. Because if it's isolated, even those at the airport, they can't say anything by IATA rules. If it's isolated, if it cannot be turned on, and if it's under, and it's actually quite a high watt hour number, they cannot take your battery out of the light. So you can take it even in your hand luggage if it's under those specs, and just check it out on the IATA site, because I've heard they've been taking away the batteries on the airport, and this is not really correct. You have some laws or some rules there, but of course the batteries need to be in these specs. Now, to the pros and cons of the light. First of all, I really like the branding they've been using. Now, of course, the orange silicone rubber, the nice cooling fins. This is something for the eye. It's not important for the light performance, but it's something nice for the eye. I really enjoyed that they're using the XHP35 on this with a bit of more output, 1300 lumens. I'm very happy to see this, and also to have a power indicator. Even if it's a small one and maybe not that easy to read, depending on which color, but as I said, green and red, it's easier to see. You have a power indicator which lets you know how much power is still left in the battery, and this is quite usable though. To have the battery, in this case a USB rechargeable one, is also an amazing thing to have included here, and also something I enjoy is just again the size. Again, D520 remembers me right away. It's very similarly built. It's just basically a D520 with a switch. So guys, in negative things there is actually none. Just make sure to not press the switch to either lock the switch or open it, and this is the only thing which could go wrong. If it just stays on for a long time, you might burn something which is in front of the light. The light itself has an overheating protection feature. So guys, as usual, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, make sure to give me a like, thumbs up. If you didn't so, make sure to subscribe to my channel to not miss out on any of my future videos. And as usual, I hope to see you next time, and I always wish you a good and safe diving.